without further ado, I will start in with chapter 11 of The Sword and the Rose. Basically what I'm doing is I'm reading through a manuscript that my father wrote, and I've never read it before, never read it out loud. What I'm going to be doing also is going over and marking and editing. So there might be brief pauses, fairly brief pauses while I mark up the edits. And here I go. Chapter 11. The messenger from Gwilla's hole was tired and sweaty, but held himself upright for all that. My lord Baron, Baron Warwick be gathering its forces across the border. What border? What numbers? About 30 horse and 150 foot when I left, Lord Baron. Any other message? None, my Lord Baron. Quelser nodded. You may go. Rest overnight in the castle, but hold yourself ready in case we need to speak to you again. Yes, my Lord Baron. After the man had left, Quelser turned to Foraith. Well, harvest is done. Foraith drew a deep breath. Forest is done. Now lords can be taken the hay fork from the peasant's hand and given him a spear instead. Your orders, lord? As to that, do you have any suggestions? Well, Foraith stroked a hand down his chin. I'd say he'd be testing us, seeing what we'd be doing for a threat. And I say we'd be needing to do something to show we'd be taking him seriously. Elsewise, he'll push a little further and a little further till we end up fighting somewhere we'd rather not. Quelser nodded. Still, I don't think we want to call up all our forces simply because he makes a demonstration on our border. That might suggest to him that we're afraid of him and encourage him to do something rash. What then? Just a few more than he has to show that we be serious too? Yes, I'd say so. And should things become serious, for some reason, a small force at Gwilla's hole can help until reinforcements arrive. Quelser sighed. It would seem he no longer fears the king's involvement on my side. I'd hope that the king's favor, however tenuous, would give us the summer at least. Perhaps it has. Look, he'd be very cautious about things. I know Warwick. Another time, he'd be storming the fort at Gwilla's hole, hoping to catch us unawares. This summer, he'd be doing all these niggling feints and schemes. I hope you're right. Now who should we send? I think it would be best if I didn't go myself, to show that I didn't take this too seriously. Would you trust our Irrelevant with it? He hates your guts, but he'd be no fool when it comes to tactics, and he'd be a determined man as well. Quelser pursed his lips. I haven't been here long enough to become completely familiar with the capabilities of my knights. I'll take your word on that. They picked the men for the expedition from those who were nearest to the seat of the barony, which would permit them to gather themselves and their supplies quickly and be on the road in the shortest time. It was then a matter of calling the scribes to write out the messages and sending off the messengers to the particular places. Marquis and Irrelevant came to the Grandel Castle with poor grace and received his orders. For some reason, not carefully explained, his sister Heywin accompanied him and stayed at Grandel Castle until her brother had actually left, with the gathered force for his destination. Quelser found himself seeking the company of other women, simply to avoid being alone in the company of Heywin. Most of them guessed why he wanted their presence, and those who guessed had a little fun at his expense. When he asked Brynjan Marpatvin to accompany him on a tour of the castle's food stocks, at the end of it, she chuckled a little. They had left Heywin at her chamber, and Quelser was escorting Brynjan to her own. For shame! It's a great hero to put such a great fright by a mere woman. Quelser smiled ruefully. But, lady, mere enemy warriors can be fought, or if necessary, one can die bravely in fighting them. Against this, mere swords are useless. Ah, but will you not marry? You must have an heir to inherit the barony. He smiled again. At the moment, lady, I am more concerned with putting this barony in order. Sometime, indeed, I must marry and produce an heir, but not just yet. And if you lead your soldiers out one day and don't come back, your knight soldiers will be so busy fighting over who should succeed you that people such as Wardick will have little trouble taking much or all of Grand Old Barony. Yes, he felt his smile fade, and Care rode on his back like a stone. Salder's tears. My second choice is leaving a woman and a babe to the mercies of that pack of wolves. Someone will declare themselves a regent for the child, and the older ones will have mercy on mother and babe it then. His right hand rubbed at his leather cuff. If I'm granted enough time, I might perhaps gather a solid group of men who would truly support an heir of mine. As it is, I can depend only on Foraith and Ralno and one or two others. Something occurred to him, and he looked up at her. Lady, you know that Jadal is the closest thing to an heir that the barony has right now. You might be well advised to look to making friends of your own, to save the boy from harm, if anything befall me before I have an heir. But the king would not have Raffle's heir ruling the barony. He might, and he might not. If it meant peace in the barony, quite possibly he would overlook the heir's family. And if I have no heir of my own, then Jadal's claim, shaky as it is, could well be the rationale by which someone else gives orders in his name. Suddenly she gave him a grim look. I should intrigue against you? Then you would have ample reason to do away with Jadal and me, to ensure your rule. No, not that. I would be most upset if you joined any intrigue against me, but that is not to say that you might not find yourself a few friends who would be willing to protect the boy's life. And is there any who would deal honestly with a woman and a boy, my lord? I know these men better than you do. I have no intention of riding out and dying anytime soon, but if the older ones let me wander into the path of a stray arrow? He shivered. If that were to happen, you can certainly see what your situation might be. She reached out a hand and touched him lightly. Live long, my Lord Baron. And she turned and stepped hastily into her room. Tostig looked out from the newly erected palisade. You think I'd be wrong about keeping him alive, man? I'd not be going that strong, Toss. Be a bit hard keeping so many peasants fed through the winter, though. Tostig nodded. Be that for sure. But we'll be making use of him still. You be knowing how our lot tend to leave things like gathering firewood. We can set these to gathering of firewood and patching up the houses and the like. Come spring, we can set them to planting gardens for all of us. Manic shot him a look. Next thing you know, we'll be setting yourself up as a baron over us, Toss. His expression showed that he did not approve of that thought. Come on, man, you know better. We be bandits, but two short steps up from wild wood runners. But they've been no need to do away with all comfort, and for sure, if I ever start calling myself Lord of Lesmore or some such, you got my leave to revolt against me. I know you can't stand barons. Not them. They're women. They're brats, nor the folk who prop 'em up can't bear the lot of them. Tolsteg made no answer to that. Some men, you could ease their trouble by talking about them, but Manic just seemed to get more fierce as he went along. He looked over at Slavin Hansch's shack. Valak was gathering wood. He shuddered a little. Valak seemed more alive than Yahor. His eyes, they were dead as corpses, and yet Valak's face would show a look of terror, as though he knew what was happening to him, and he could do nothing about it. Tostig thought, from time to time, about killing Balak. Sure is sure, though, he'd be replacing him if you did that. Somehow, at some point, Slalvenhenge had gotten to be too much for a mere bandit chief to deal with. He turned to Manic. We'd best be sending some of those lads out, but as you say, we've been eating food. Maybe I'll be making a bunch out myself. Unless you'd rather be doing it. Manic shook his head. You go, Toss. I'll be taking care of things back here. You be a serious grim some few days now, Lord. Yes, I have, haven't I? Gwalsor's mind went back to his talk with Brynjan. And from all I've seen, I'm afraid it won't be improving much very soon. What bothers you? You know what'll happen if I go out to fight somewhere and die? Or even if I fall off my horse and break my neck while hunting? Melguthop shrugged. Then all your worries are over? Gwalsor laughed sharply. Yes, you're right there. But I think what I'll leave behind. Chadal is the nearest thing to a successor to the barony. Some quick-minded and unscrupulous fellow will seize him and his mother and rule in his name until he comes of age. And how soon do you think it will be before he succumbed to a fever or had an accident of his own? Not to mention what will happen to the people I've befriended. Forraith, for instance, will be murdered out of the hand. Same goes for Ralno. And maybe two of your Wild Lafette henchmen? I think my Wild Lafette henchmen will prove very difficult to kill, but that's neither here nor there. What of the ones less able to defend themselves? The flat olive face was impassive. You live like this all day? There'll be. That's what you give me for my comfort? Comfort? Lord, you go to the right place, pay a couple silver coins for comfort. Maybe being the Baron, you can go to other places and not pay at all. But every day you work, you make things safer for people you care for. But if spirits, gods, whatever you believe, if they say that you'll not live to see another day, then you won't. It's that simple. So you do what you can. Let rest be. He put a hand on Gwalsor's shoulder and gave him a little shake. Look, you spend time worrying, fretting yourself. You'll be so worn out when the next battle comes. There's a good chance you won't live through it. So take a hold of yourself. Gwalsor glared at him for a few minutes. Then suddenly I felt a smile break through. You're right, of course. Suppose the Baron and his Wild Lafette were to wander off to an inn somewhere for a cup of ale before the next problem comes up that can only be solved by a baronial decree. Melguthop smiled. We might well have Ralno in fits, worrying about who ought to have time to speak to you today and how difficult it's going to be to reschedule. I think the schedule can go hang for an hour. The next day, about mid-morning, Gwalsor was walking in from striking at the Pels when Melguthop met him again. The flat olive face was somber. My lord, 2 louts attacked me this morning. Are you hurt? Melguthop smiled briefly. By 2 louts? You try to insult me, my lord? No, I only tell you that for the start. I wonder if somebody maybe wants me out of the way. That gave me the notion, so I went by your room. They tried again, my lord. There's a curse in your chamber again. If not worse than the last, you paint me white and call me a Southron. Gwalsor shot him a quick look. You haven't said that in a long time. I don't want to say it in the wrong company, but make someone seriously upset. I sent for Pemberland. Maybe we think about keeping the curse out altogether. If only we could. But you know how it is with servants and all. You tell me, maybe I'll do something. And do it without peeving my guard and my servants too much? Maybe so, yes. Get to it then. I'll have Ralno find me a place to stay for the time being. Pemberlin, looking somewhat pale, came to find him later. My Lord Baron, this is one very serious matter. No mere hedge wizardry, wishing ill upon whoever might inhabit the room, but a definite aiming of evil forces at a man of high rank who stayed in the room, sat on a chair, or slept in the bed. Gwalsor rubbed at his leather sleeve. Why not aimed at me specifically? I can only speculate, my Lord Baron. Charms as specific as the one of which you speak are possible, but are very complex, expensive, and time-consuming. I would suggest that whoever purchased it had limited time or funds, but sufficient to obtain the one which was placed. This one being so complex, would you be able to identify the wizard this time? Alas, no. The tale of your Lafetta and his magic smelling have become widely known. None of the few capable magicians nearby would risk having their handiwork revealed. It was brought from somewhere outside the immediate area of Grandel Castle. I see. Gwalsor's mind jumped to Markian, Dar Irrelevant, who might well have come prepared this time. Yes, my lord. Exactly who brought it and from where are questions beyond my competence. It might be possible to take the physical elements of the thing and track them to a place or places and get a better idea of where it was made. However, due to the power of it, I felt it better to neutralize it and destroy it before it could cause harm. It consisted of bundles of herbs tied with a special string, using special knots, along with a few other things, all sprinkled with blood. Such a thing is not only harmful to the person at whom it's aimed, but could cause injury to others. I see. Well, we shall have to see what Melgathep discovers about the thing and how it came to my rooms. Thank you, Pemberlin. When he returned in the afternoon, Melgathep said, Somebody is seriously anxious to get that thing off their hands. He waited until the afternoon. There has been much coming and going through your quarters. I maybe will never be able to track down all the toing and froing. The one who brought it did not know what he brought. A special gift to my Lord Baron from a friend who wants to be unknown. Ha! There was a ferocity in all this space. The idiot even admitted the thing felt seriously bad to him when he unwrapped it. Even so, he put it in the desk so my Lord Baron will find it sometime by surprise. He got from a man he did not know no colors or badges of any house. He thinks maybe he knows the man again if he sees him. Give me a chancy description and that's all. Whoever is behind it can most certainly pick trusted men to bring that here or give it to somebody else and then go home. If nothing seriously strange is happening, we'll likely never track it down. What about the servant who brought it to my room? That fool? He spent the next 2 weeks mucking out stables. If I think he's worse than a fool, he's dead. And guards who let him by? They'll be mucking out stables for 3 weeks. Gwalsor nodded. Well, after the fuss over the last love charm, they can probably think themselves lucky they come off no worse. Pemberlin found Gwalsor again in the evening. My Lord Baron, I at least have a partial answer for you. Mind you, if you wish to find favor in the eyes of the chief priest, you can report it to him, for I made a small divination to find that answer. Master Redrobe will never hear it from me. What did you discover? The magician looked embarrassed. My Lord Baron, I fear I may have given you false expectations. What I have discovered is not so much as one could wish. What with the magic of the curse itself and the magic I used to nullify the curse, any magic used to spy out directions would be skewed. Add to that the fact that I burned it afterward, I was fortunate to discover anything at all. He stood a little straighter. Indeed, even you had ordered me not to burn the thing, I would have disobeyed you. Such things as that are not to be left lying around. Nothing good could come of it, that's for certain. As for what I learned that the curse originated from the holding of Markian Darharelevant. I could not learn, however, who made it, nor who paid for it. Wellsar nodded. I had guessed that it was from Darharelevant. This merely makes it sure. Unfortunately, neither my guess nor your confirmation are proof enough to convict the man. To even make the attempt would leave you open to reprisals from the priests, and I would not go to that. I would not do that. Thank you, Master Pemberlent. You will not go unrewarded for this. Malgathop's reaction was quick. Get that nasty one, my lord. Would that I could, Malga, but have no good proof against him. You seriously worry too much about proof. Maybe I can arrange something to happen to the Night Holder, Markian Darharelevant? And if someone happens to see you in the process of this arrangement, or even if people suspect the arrangement, who would like most for Darharelevant to die besides me? Even if he were to die in battle, with several witnesses to the fact that he was killed by one of Wardick's men, there will be those who suspect that I somehow had something to do with it. Malgathop grimaced. Damned if you do, damned if you do not. Seriously bad, my lord. He'll betray you someday, you know. And in the meantime, he is one of the few capable commanders I have. Not a situation I like, Melga, but something I have to put up with until I have more support among my knights and night soldiers. Yeah. So that's all for this evening. Sounds like there's building a little bit of an intrigue, so I'm kind of excited to see where this happens next. Tune in again tomorrow. So, yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.